Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Center on Halstead Centering Voices. Today, we have a really special guest. Very excited to introduce him. We are celebrating March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility, also known as TDOV. We're very excited to introduce our guest, but before we do that, I just want to give you a little history on Center on Halstead. In 1973, Center on Halstead originally began as Gay Horizons, which was a volunteer-run information clearinghouse and meeting place for gays and lesbians. Soon after that, it shifted to mental health and social services, and then eventually evolved into supporting folks throughout the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. In 1992, Horizons was inducted into Chicago's Gay and Lesbian Hall of Fame. And in 2003, that's when we eventually became Center on Halstead. In 2005, construction began on the building that we're currently in. 2 decades later, we are currently sitting here and providing a plethora of services for the entire LGBTQIA+ community. Today, we are sitting here with Ryan Cassata. Ryan, thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Luke.
Awesome. And then do you mind just sharing a little bit about you, kind of what you do, some of your successes?
My name is Ryan Cassata. I use he, him pronouns. I am a proud trans man. I've now been out for over half of my life. I came out on international TV on the Larry King Live show when I was 15. I was like 2 years into my activism, so I've been doing activism for a long time, speaking at schools, going to different centers, and traveling all over, even to different countries as well. I am also a singer-songwriter. My whole mission has always been about the youth. Like growing up as a trans youth myself, like I just wanted people my same age at first, and now younger people than me, like just to not be bullied and not have to go through all this with their parents, and like just have more support. So I've just been trying to make the world a safer and better place for LGBTQ youth for the last like 17 years. Yeah.
And your activism is very powerful. I will say, like that's how I first came across you. I heard your voice online, and just the plenty of different speaking events that you do, and just the engagement that you have online. Your presence is so strong, and your voice for not just the trans community, but the queer community as a whole.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So moving on a little bit, we are here for TDOV, Trans Day of Visibility, and I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit, about what TDOV means to you, and how you feel the importance of this holiday.
Yeah, so Trans Day of Visibility, one, it's a celebration of our trans lives, of our trans bodies, of our trans experiences, but it's also still a protest. With that, I mean, trans people, we still don't have our rights. I mean, our rights are being like stripped away from us, like in a lot of ways, like it has gotten worse. And that is partially because we have raised so much visibility. So part of any movement, there's some like backsliding that happens because society is like reacting to our revolution. It's actually a sign of the revolution. The setbacks are normal, even though they're terrible. They're obviously terrible, and we have to keep fighting and fighting harder. But that's why Trans Day of Visibility is so important. And for someone like me, like I don't really pass, probably not even like 50% of the time as male in public. So I consider myself very androgynous. So for me, it's like every day is Trans Day of Visibility when I'm outside of my house or on the internet doing my thing or whatever. Like, and I like it that way. Like I like using myself to spread visibility for the rest of the community as well.
I mean, I think you touch on a couple important things there. One, like the pendulum theory of civil rights. If the more ground that you break, the more people are going to push back, and then slowly hoping to progress forward from there. Also, in regards to passing, regarding the, I guess, not the importance of passing, but almost the lack of importance in terms of what that is for someone's trans identity.
For me personally, like I have tried to pass mainly for safety. Like that's been my main reason to want to pass. Like I just want to feel safe like in a public restroom. So I often wear a hat because it makes me feel like I pass a little bit better, so it makes me feel safer. It feels like something we do for society a lot of times. And really what matters is like, do you pass to yourself? Like, are you comfortable wearing the things you wear? Regardless of like what gender they stereotypically are in society, like, are you wearing things that affirm you? Because that's what's actually way more important as far as like transitioning goes, and the choices that we make for our transitions, they need to be choices that we are making solely for us and not to please society. So I don't put too much importance on passing. If you strive to pass, like, that's great. That's what, if that's what you want to do, you know? So it's up to each individual, but I don't think it's like a competition or like a goal to get to. I think everyone needs to just be their own individual self and do whatever makes them feel the best. So it looks different for every single trans person, and that's totally normal and okay.
Truly about like what you want to make it, right? Like affirming for yourself.
Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on, we are here for Trans Day of Visibility, but I think it's important that we also recognize that trans people are so much more than just their gender identity.
Yeah.
There's so much more to every single person, and often that becomes the focus. And while we are here to celebrate that, I'm curious if there's anything else you wanted to maybe mention. It could be struggles, it could be successes, things that help make up who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the biggest thing about me is that I'm a singer-songwriter. Like, if I have to identify myself with just one label, like, I would pick singer-songwriter. That is like what drives me. That's how I express myself. Music has just been like a really positive outlet for me. It's been like my journal, and it's helped my mental health and helped everything around my life really because of it. I got signed to Kill Rock Stars, and I always had like label dreams. So last year I got signed. So a record is on the way. Music has just been like my safe place, and it's been my number one form of self-expression. And I know a lot of trans people are artists, and I think that's amazing. Expressing yourself creatively is one of the best things you can do.
Thank you for talking about your music career, and I'm curious if there are other folks, trans folks, cis folks, honestly, anybody who has helped inspire you, maybe some of your heroes that have helped you kind of get into the field that you're in now.
When I first was coming out as trans, there wasn't like much visibility at all. Like, there was like a handful of guys on the internet, on YouTube. Like, YouTube had just started, and there was like 5 trans YouTubers. Some of them were musicians, like Lucas from the Clicks I watched, and he was a trans guy that chose not to take tea for like the first like 10 years or so of his transition, and he was definitely like a lighthouse for me. And also Joe Stevens of Coyote Grace, another trans singer songwriter. Like, he was on tour and just doing things I really wanted to do, and seeing him like as an out trans person, I was like, oh, okay, like, being trans like doesn't mean my whole life is over like my parents think. Like, Joe Stevens is out living his dream. He's touring. Like, I could do that too. And like, as a trans kid, I was like, okay, there's hope for me, you know? And that was really important. So a lot of these guys just like served as total lighthouses for me, and I would watch every video. And like, Original Plumbing magazine was big at that time as well. All that stuff just really like saved my life at the time and made me feel like I wasn't alone.
You are, I mean, a testimony, right, to your heroes. You've kind of followed in their footsteps and have become a public figure, a face, a singer. I'm curious how you might feel, now being on the flip side of that and having people look up to you, young folks using you as that voice now.
It feels amazing. Like, it's definitely the best thing that I've done is help other people. When I was in high school, the Milk came out, the movie about Harvey Milk.
Mhm.
And Harvey Milk went to my high school, graduated from my high school. He was on our football team. He was always saying, "You got to give him hope." Like, that was one of his catchphrases. I saw the movie, and we learned a lot about him in my school. That phrase like really stuck out to me because at the time, like, what I didn't really have was a lot of hope. Like, I had a little bit, like enough to keep going, but I realized like if I was feeling that way and was having like all these dark feelings, like there's other trans people in the world and probably even in my school that need a little bit of hope, and that was something that really inspired me to be an activist. As someone who was bullied and everything, like I just really wanted other youth not to go through that. Harvey Milk is one of my greatest inspirations because of that. And now being invited to like speak at Harvard and speak at the Capitol and visit the White House, like these are things like I never imagined, would be possible like for a trans person. And I just feel like really grateful for it. I get to hear from people like every day that say like music and your activism has helped me so much. It's helped my parents accept me. It's helped my family accept me. That stuff just, it really matters so much to me. It matters more than any award that I could ever win.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, hope is so important, and especially at a time when, things are not great right now. We've had an onslaught of anti-LGBTQIA bills put forth. So I know that there's a lot of young folks and all folks, and whatever age, looking up to you and seeing your videos, seeing your message, and providing that hope for them is just so important. Um, I'm curious on the flip side, with Trans Day of Visibility, are you doing anything to celebrate, or do you have any plans to, recognize this day for yourself?
I will be performing at Orange County's Trans Visibility event, which it'll be on March 30th, the day before. So I'm excited for that, and just to get to be at another center. Orange County is like only an hour from LA, not even Los Angeles, and like there's bills like trying to get past there where like you can't even raise the pride flag right now. Like it's wild. And this is like, Los Angeles is so liberal, and then just like you drive 30 minutes an hour and you're like, oh, it's getting a
Right.
little scary. So I'm excited to go over there and just spend some time with the people at that center.
Yeah, it's important that, I'm here in Chicago. While we live in very liberal areas, not to forget about the surrounding areas and, the youth and the folks who also need that support. We're getting close to, wrapping up here a little bit. One thing I wanted to touch on before we get to the final stages is you do have a little bit of a history here with Center on Halsted. I'm curious if you could just tell me a little bit more about that, about how you first found us, and whatever you became involved with us
Yeah,
before.
I got invited to perform. It was 2014, and that was actually my first national tour. Timon T. West invited me, who is a real legend of hip hop. I think the first like openly gay hip hop artist, or among the first. So I was really like stoked to meet him and get to spend time and just be at the center. Growing up, like I was a center kid. Like I was at my local LGBT center 5 days a week. Being there like saved my life, honestly. Like if it wasn't for having a center local to me, like I don't think I would be here. Like that's where I met people like me. That's where I got support. That's where like I went after like being bullied at school all day and was able to talk about it with people that understood. It was a home for me. From the time I was 13 to 18, I was at that center all of the time. LGBT centers are just so important. They're one of the most, if not the most important resource for our community. So I just want to like stress that fact, because I want people to really show up for the work that LGBTQ centers are doing around the nation, including the center here in Chicago.
Thank you so much for saying that. And it's true, without queer centers, a lot of our youth, a lot of our elderly folks, they wouldn't be able to have some of the resources that they have. So it is really an important topic to touch on, in terms of we do need your support. We need your ongoing support. And that doesn't just mean money. That can mean volunteering. That could be making a connection with a youth. It really, there's a plethora of ways to get involved in your local LGBTQIA plus center. And so finally, Ryan, just want to give you one more chance here to, one, we'll say thank you so much for doing this, but If you could give us a little bit of a shout out of your social media, any other events that you have coming up, really anything that you want to talk about.
Yeah, you could find me at ryancassata.com, and I'm on all the social media, doing activism stuff, sharing my music. So yeah, come over there for some trans joy, and be sure to visit the center.
Thank you, Ryan. And just one more shout out for Center. If you're looking to find out more information for us, we are at www.centeronhalstead.org, or you can find us on Instagram at center_on_Halstead. And again, Ryan, one big last thank you for being here and lending your voice to one, this series, and two, Trans Day of Visibility. Your voice is so valuable.
Thank you so much, Luke.
Thank you. And this has been Center on Halstead, Centering Voices.